So this is the story of how I took my client from point A to point B, only doing a partial. So as you can probably notice, she has a ton of hair, and I did cut it prior to starting this video, so I made it a little bit larger than it usually looks. Anyways, we did this color only doing a partial because we haven't done a full color in quite a while. And that goes straight against my rule of never, ever, ever taking clients darker, doing only a partial. Why do we not take clients darker by doing only a partial? I find that the only time it's acceptable to take a client darker doing only a partial is if they've only ever had partials and you're not going darker than their natural hair. It is not natural for the top half of your head to be the darkest. That's not where the sun naturally shines on your head. That's not where the light naturally hits your head. So that's not typically where we would put the depth in somebody's hair. On drinking game, take a shot every time I just said natural. As you can see though, she does have some grown out blonde on the bottom half of her head, which I am fine with because A, we are not going darker than her natural color. B, it has grown out really nicely to preserve a lot of depth on the interior of her head. Therefore, I don't feel like I need to go back in on that bottom half of her head and put any depth back in because it's already naturally there. I would not be doing a partial dimensional on this client, aka taking them darker using only a partial if we had recently done a full. Because the natural depth from the grow out that she has probably wouldn't be there, as we probably would have just gone through and put a bunch of highlights in through it. And now if you're watching this video and you're seeing the end result and you're like, that's darker than her natural color. No, it's not. She has a fair amount of grays, which are pretty shiny, as we know, and this indoor lighting isn't doing them any justice. As you'll see in just a second here, her natural color is actually like a lighter kind of brown. And with Agora Vibrance or any demi-permanent really, you will get some gray blending and gray coverage, so that'll just make it look darker overall. She also, like I find with most of my clients, does have most of her grays on the top half of her head and around her part line. I don't know why it happens like that. I just find that it's the most common place for grays. You may have noticed too that I'm going through and I'm putting lowlights directly under the highlights. This is one of my absolute favorite techniques for seamless blending when you're doing dimensional colors. You take the dropouts from the highlights that you just did and you do lowlights on them. This is a trick I learned from Lexi Dawn back when I had her subscription. So Lexi, if you see this, thank you so much. I use this literally all the time. And you may notice as I'm working up the side of the head or as I get closer to the top of the head, I am bringing that lightener closer to the higher I am on the head, the higher the lightener comes. I do this when I want to preserve depth on the interior of the head. Interior meaning the hair that you can't see when it's in natural fall. This is just one of the many ways that I like to blonde with intention. I prefer to go in and vary my lightener placement so that it looks good no matter where she is in the grow out. I do use a lot of root taps, root melts, etc., but those are just tools to help the blend be even better. The real blend comes with lightener placement. Here you'll see me sectioning out her front pieces. Whenever I'm doing blondes level 9 or up, I like to use my toner soup method. What I like to do is section out the front pieces, go through and tone the rest of the hair, and then I squeeze out some extra toner and use that for the front pieces. It allows the water to dilute that toner for the front pieces, which keeps the blonde in the front. Less time that you let it sit on the front, of course, the lighter it's gonna be. Anyways, here's the finished result. Let me know what you think. Love you, bye.